Thank you very much, and thank you to Bentley for being flexible on the schedule and swapping with us. We had snow in the Midwest and polar vortex and a temperature swing of about 100 degrees, which resulted in a lot of fog that kept the airport shut for about 2 days. So I literally just walked in off the plane. So I'm going to give you a bit of an update today on MindSphere, which is our cloud-based open IoT operating system. So Siemens knows quite a bit about connected devices and about IoT, and MindSphere is the backbone for all of our offerings around IoT within the company, across all of the different Siemens divisions. And that's a platform direction that we're moving towards for the next probably 5 to 10 years, right? We're making great progress on this, which I'll talk about, but Siemens has a long history of connected devices. We have over 35 million automation systems in the field, 75 million contracted smart meters, and over 1.3 million connected products of our own. Of course, those products range from things like wind turbines to locomotives to PLCs in individual machines. And so we're really unique in our approach to Industrial Internet of Things, because we're not just a software provider that's putting solutions out there, but we have to live it and make it work every day in our own plants and our own products. So we're very excited about bringing that industrial domain knowledge to the market. What's really been interesting this year and over the last 18 months or so, as we've had conversations with customers, is that those conversations have changed. And we no longer really have to explain what the Internet of Things is or what cloud is, but we really are now starting to have conversations about how to get started and what kinds of solutions are they looking at in their businesses. So it's just as kind of a point of reference for the conversations with our customers. We've developed this digital maturity model, which is kind of informal, but it really maps into where customers begin. They typically begin with what we call connect and monitor type solutions, where they're connecting existing assets and existing systems into MindSphere. They're collecting data to improve processes and enhance their customer experience, but it's really about reducing downtime and really asset management, asset performance management, condition monitoring, kind of basic use cases. And then we see conversations moving up into really more sophisticated use of analytics and getting into the predictive space. And that's really about building analytics models to find new insights about how your machinery or your plants or your products or whatever it is you're monitoring is operating. And of course, we'll tie that back in a few moments into what we do with the digital twin as well. But this really gets into things where we're doing more predictive maintenance, more prescriptive maintenance, really getting into things like energy asset or energy optimization and energy cost savings. Then of course we get up into the full-blown digital twin, which I'll talk about on the next slide, which is really bringing your IoT data and your digital twin and performance back into other parts of the product and plant lifecycle. So when we talk about digital twins at Siemens, we really talk about the digital twin having 3 different kind of aspects or phases. And of course, these are not sequential. These are always updated, always continuous in the nature. But we talk about the digital twin of the product, the digital twin of production, and then the digital twin of performance. And it's really about the closed loop integration and the innovation that drives that makes what we can do in the marketplace unique by tying our different offerings for all the phases of the life cycle back in together. And so you can see in this diagram that's on the lower right that what we do is get into design of the products, the design of production. Of course, all that can be done virtually with validation before you've ever built anything physical. And then you get into real production. And of course, whether you're trying to validate the operations of your production or the things that are being produced, tying that back in with the Internet of Things data so that you have that digital twin of performance of an asset and being able to not only see what's happening in the field with that, but saying, okay, does that map back to what I expected it to operate during the simulation pieces of it, or is it really operating within the requirement specs or as designed, or is my supply chain supplying things that meet the requirements? That's the real power of closing the loop with IoT back into the digital twin. So how do we do that with MindSphere? Well, this is a pretty simplified drawing of it. I'll show you one that's a little more complicated on the next. slide, but really what we're talking about here when we talk about MindSphere is a cloud-based open IoT operating system, and we run over top of systems like AWS and Microsoft, but not over their IoT system, but over their general cloud infrastructure as a service, because we bring the industrial IoT data models to the world here. So if we start at the bottom, we have connectivity to pretty much any kind of device. There's dozens of protocols of legacy systems are out there. Of course, newer ones are using things like open UPC, or I'm sorry, open operating system formats. And then we get into the platform as a service, which is really the cloud layer, and then up into the application space. Now, you can't talk about IoT without talking about the edge, because Siemens has its own industrial edge offerings, which you'll hear much more about over the next year or so, but also we are open in that we work with pretty much any edge device, and I'll talk about how we do that in a few moments. Really, in terms of the connectivity aspect of it, this is a bit of an eye chart, but you'll have a chance with the white paper that's linked out of the press room to be able to spend more time on this. But basically, there are hardware solutions that we provide that can connect into MindSphere right out of the box with our MindConnect Nano and our MindConnect IoT 2040. We provide MindConnect APIs and libraries that allow you to program your own agents, to put them in your own devices, to be able to have them right on board for systems that you're building. And then through our partnerships and other offerings, and we have two other packages called IoT extensions and MindConnect integration. It allows us to connect pretty much to any legacy system of IoT protocols that's out there. In a large manufacturing operation like a typical automotive OEM, we've seen RFPs with 20 or 30 different protocols that's been built up over the years that we have to be able to take data from. And then the MindConnect integration allows you to connect into enterprise systems like ERP systems, supply chain management, CRM, pretty much any kind of back office IT system that the company might have to connect to. This is in the white paper, so I won't spend much time on it. It's kind of a architecture diagram. It's not really a physical architecture, but it gives you an idea of the core components and how we treat these. They're building blocks that we offer for people to be able to build applications on top of our framework. We have common components that we supply that allow people to get started fast with those. We have analytics that go from the edge up through product intelligence and predictive learning into full-blown industry-specific analytics, and we have many of the integration capabilities I just talked about. And just the thought I'll leave you with on this slide is that we actually have a number of ways for you to get applications that run on MindSphere. There are Siemens applications. There are applications that are developed by our partners. We'll talk more about them in a few moments. And then we actually work with customers either to tailor or customize or build, or partners work with customers to get them started with industry-focused applications and kits. Because while the terminology at the generic level is often the same across industries, when you get down into interpreting that language directly into the industry that you're working with, things mean a little bit different in a particular industry. And as you saw earlier, Siemens has a lot of experience across industries. That's kind of in our DNA, so that helps with that. This gives you an idea of the MindSphere APIs that we provide. They're the same APIs that we build our own applications on. We have both the ability to have customers build to our APIs that gives them a sense of platform agnostic for whether we're running MindSphere on AWS or MindSphere on Azure. For example, a customer or a partner can build an application through our APIs and working in our Cloud Foundry environment that allows it to be transportable. But we also provide native cloud accessibility in our MindSphere tenant. So what that means is that you get the best of both worlds. You don't have to make a pure make versus buy decision. That if you want to use MindSphere as the platform, build applications on it, but you still want to take advantage of some of the back-end cloud work that you've done within your own IT organization, or take advantage of some of the specialized capabilities that the cloud infrastructure providers are building, you can build applications that access both. They're just not as transportable for you between cloud environments. But we provide the ability for customers to do both, and we think that's been a real win for us in the way we've seen customer expansion. The other piece I'll bring up is that the way that you develop applications are changing. Siemens just recently, in the last month or so, announced our acquisition of Mendix for low-code and no-code development environments, so rapid application development environments. We think this is really going to be a game changer in the IoT space, as well as we're rolling out our projects now with Mendix. Oops, I'm sorry. And because, as you know, it's sometimes hard for companies to find programming talent these days, and manufacturing companies in particular are trying to compete with the likes of the Googles and the Amazons and the, and of the world, who are really capturing a lot of the young mind share of people, so that this ability to have rapid application development, and it doesn't necessarily take a programmer to do it or a software engineer, is really key for us. So, this low-code rapid application development allows essentially business users to be able to develop their own applications and deploy them in their own environments quite quickly. And so we're really excited about that acquisition and what it means for MindSphere as well. Tomorrow afternoon, if you have a chance, you can stop by the track that we're on a panel along with one of our customers, Continental Automotive. It's a 2 o'clock panel on optimizing operations with AI, edge connectivity, and IIoT in that track. And Joseph Etris of Continental is going to speak about what I think is a really interesting project, because what they're doing is working to optimize energy consumption costs in conjunction with the digital twins of their production environment. So it's a very exciting thing where they're taking data from individual machines and looking at energy consumption right down to that level, and figuring out how, working with their local utility even, to optimize their pricing and their usage and off-peak hours, and actually optimizing as a whole or lowering their energy usage. So a really exciting application of MindSphere working with Continental Automotive. So stop by to see that if you have a chance. Now, I mentioned earlier that Siemens is a little bit unique in the way that we are a company that not only builds software solutions, as one of the largest software companies in the world, but one of the largest manufacturing companies in the world. And so we have, inside of Siemens, completely independent of the MindSphere development organization or the MindSphere business segment, developed what we call these MindSphere application centers. And so you can see the industries that we serve on these. There's actually 20 different MindSphere application centers that are virtual. They're spread across 57 locations in 17 countries, and almost 1,000 more people that are working every day on co-creating applications for MindSphere with Siemens customers and within the Siemens businesses themselves. So it's just an amazing, every day in our social media feed, there's something going by of a new application that's being implemented in one of our customers or in one of the Siemens plants. And this is where you really can bring that industrial domain knowledge to play. And again, these are all about co-creating with customers. So you can find out more about those in the white paper we linked, as well as the website. I've put this in because these numbers, these MACs, as we call them, you'll hear us refer to them as short. There's new ones that pop up every few months in new locations. And so there's some very exciting ones going on here in the US, and as I said, 17 countries that this kind of work is going on. So these are all people who are developing applications and solutions on top of MindSphere. The last thing that I'll mention is we're seeing not only growth in the customer base, but we're seeing growth, huge growth in our partner ecosystem as well. So you can see on the right the kinds of partners that we work with from MindSphere. Consulting and strategy type partners would be the big names you're all familiar with. Application developers, technology companies, system integrators, hybrid OT providers, as well as people that are working right down at the connectivity level. Obviously, there's not room to put all 300 on a slide like this, but if I would have put this slide up, say, back at our user group meeting in June of last year, that number was around 50. So we've added over 250 partners in probably the last 6 months. And so we're seeing this topic just really pick up. And the move into the cloud environment with the open APIs has been just a real driver of this, I think. So I did mention earlier that, and you saw in the architecture type diagram, that we've got a cloud infrastructure over top of the major providers. MindSphere is running today on both AWS and on Microsoft Azure, but the IoT models, the IoT data, the IoT domain knowledge, that IP is all is all Siemens on top of just the IaaS kind of capabilities, but you can have that native cloud accessibility to build applications native in the cloud, or cloud aware, if you will, that hook directly in with MindSphere as well. And in December, we announced that we were in preview release on Alibaba Cloud for China as well. And so that will be a China-specific offering for us, but we're really excited about the work that's being done there as well. Just to give you a little bit of a background, AWS was our first major replatform that we released in January of 2018, and we've seen just huge growth on top of that with MindSphere. So we're adding customers to that every day. Microsoft Azure, we just announced general availability in December, so that's a new platform for us, and Alibaba will be publicly released in April of this time frame. So, we're all about developing industrial IoT solutions faster and giving you tools to be able to do that, whether it's a platform, whether it's the coding tools. We think that open platform as a service layer, while still providing native cloud accessibility to our customers, is something that we're doing differently than anybody else in the industry right now in working with our cloud partners. We have this extensive device and enterprise connectivity that's frankly different for manufacturing in cities and a lot of the equipment that you work there. It's a very different world than the consumer IoT. So with that, we've got the ability to develop these powerful industry solutions, and you can see that by leveraging that global partner ecosystem to be able to deliver that both for industries and for geographic regions. We're in a really great place for that. So with that, I thank you for your patience. And if we have time for a couple questions, I'm happy to take them. Yes, sir.
Bill, when you talked about building applications that access multiple environments, these are the ones that you're talking about?
Correct.
MindSphere applications.
Sure.
Work with differences in the APIs across multiple.
Yes, at the cloud level, that's correct. But also, you saw at the IoT extensions area that we went past a little bit earlier, we have APIs into the cloud to be able to do integrations with any kind of back office system that a company might be using, like their ERP systems or CRM systems or supply chain management, where they want to get that IoT data back or into the data lakes in the cloud to be able to do analysis with it. So we can not only go kind of inside the cloud environment with native application development, we can also help people develop applications that tie back into their back-end systems to be able to take advantage of both.
Has that kind of message been received well? I would think that in the past, where multiple systems could work together without large levels of integration, this message would be better received.
Bill, if you could repeat the question.
Oh, okay. I'll repeat the question. So I'll try and repeat the question. So the question was in terms of the environments we're talking about being able to help people to develop applications that connect into multiple environments. What does that entail? Is it the systems that we have there where we're talking about the cloud kind of providers? And my answer is yes, it's the access to the cloud environments that are running in AWS or Azure or in Alibaba Cloud, being cloud aware, but it's also those IoT extensions where we can connect out into other enterprise systems and help companies be able to tie things back together. And of course, within the Siemens environment of our own, right, that closing loop with all of our digital twin capabilities is a real powerful piece. Some of those are on the cloud, some of those are on premise, some of those are on the edge, as we talked about earlier. And for us, it really doesn't matter where those are. We have ways to integrate them, and we expect over the life of these long systems that those where those capabilities are implemented may move from the on-premise into the cloud or onto the edge as capabilities change. So I hope that answered your question a little bit. If not, we can talk more offline.